Park on penalties and will be in the semi-finals of the League Cup this season.
Well, there we go then. The last four in the Carabao Cup: Aston Villa, Manchester City, Leicester, and either Manchester United or Colchester. Manchester United 3-0 up in the 91st minute there. So we will be getting the reaction from the boys very shortly. Also, we'll have the draw for the semi-final as well, because Manchester City beat Oxford 3-1. We'll just get the final thoughts of Jerry. Jerry, absolute trooper. You hear your voice has been going, mate, so we're going to let you leave us nice and early. But Leicester City have done exactly what you boys did those years ago, done it on penalties in the quarterfinals and made it to the semis. Special season.
Yeah, it was incredible night, incredible scenes here. Cruising at 2-0, you have to say. And then somehow Everton found a way back into the game. Leicester the better team by far, but you know, they huffed and puffed all night, and in the end it sort of paid off for them. They made the changes. They had a bit of an impact for them, but two incredible strikes from them to get them back into the game. But Leicester just showing that tenacity right at the end in the penalty shootout. So we just wait and see who we get in the draw. Fantastic scenes.
Jerry, safe trip home.
Thank you.
Dear Gerald,
well done,
son.
So we're awaiting that draw for the semi-finals of the League Cup, and we'll get that as quickly as we hear all about it. In the meantime, we're in the studio with Richard Stearman, Matt Elliott and Steve Walsh. Got there.
Yeah, a bit of a tense second half that was, lads. But, you know, at the end of the day, like Jerry said, I think, you know, the better team won. No doubt about that. Really, you know, just sat back a little bit, invited a bit of pressure in the end, and you know, what can you say? Everton, they fought their way back into the tie and nearly nicked it from under our noses. But you know, when you look throughout that play, it should have been dead and buried. There was chances galore, and when you look all over that park, we were the better team in every department, I would have said, and it'd been an injustice if we hadn't have beaten them tonight. But they made us sweat a little bit, and it brought that company goal back to me, you know, with Baines with that goal, just kind of sitting off a little bit and inviting them to have a shot, and but still, you know, Casper to the hero again. You looked at that. I would just said to Matt, fancies on penalties. You know, looking at who we were going to take them, and yeah, brilliant game. It made it a game of it in the second half. So, but great, we're in the semi-final, aren't we?
Yeah, Paul says, well, made hard work of that, but good result in the end. Mustafa says, well done, guys. Good job, says Hatin, and thank you for the win, says another message coming in. Maurice says, I hate penalty shootouts, apart from when we win. Bill says, well done, LCFC. Andrew says, fearless Foxes up for the cup, and other messages coming along the lines from Liam of, thanks for giving me a semi, Leicester. Thanks, Liam. Lynn says, LCFC, you'll give me a heart attack one of these days. And Fee says, congratulations to the guy, especially well done to Kasper Schmeichel. What an evening for Leicester City. But Matt, until Tom Davies strikes that volley away, you think, well, Leicester are home and hosed, but all of a sudden the game just changed.
Yeah, it did. You know, goals do that, don't they? And it looked, for all intents and purposes, that Leicester was just going to cruise through. I suppose we were naive to think that it was going to go quite as smoothly as we thought. And you know, just before it, we've been saying and talking off air, and I'd said, Tom Davies, you know, what does he offer you? Not a lot on the evidence of what a sin of late, but even though he's sort of, you know, semi-vaunted, isn't he, by Everton supporters at least, but then he pops up with a wonderful finish. I thought Leicester were a little bit loose, switched off. Dennis Pratt, I think it was, who perhaps should have tracked his man, didn't think the ball was coming in at the time it did. Richarlison's done well and sort of squeezed the ball across, and there you go. All of a sudden there's a different outlook on the game, but you're still thinking Leicester have got enough here. Okay, boys, get back to grips with it. Everton didn't offer very much before or after that goal, in truth, did they? And in fact, you know, probably Leicester should have finished it off as some decent situations, but didn't quite, you know, couldn't see the game out properly. And I was just saying to myself then again, as Baines went up, before defend this attack, you win the game. Bang! Before you knew it, he'd unleashed a shot and it was in the back of the net. And all of a sudden you're like, oh dear. What a wonderful opportunity that perhaps is going to go begging again, but thankfully they turned it round. And you never know with penalties, but we were sitting here, and not just in hindsight, we're like, you fancy Leicester. Okay, Pickford's decent at penalties, saving them. Leicester have got some quality, and they showed that, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. We're just keeping eyes on when the draw is going to happen. Manchester United have beaten Colchester 3-0. That one is over, so the draw should be on the way very, very soon. Phil says, well done, lads. Absolutely brilliant from Millie. Heroic performance by Casper in the penalties, says Joel. Don't care who we draw in the semis. We'll beat any of them. Lauren says, let's do this, boys. Next round, here we come. So many people getting in touch. Keep your messages coming. We'll get through as many of them as possible. Maxine says, I went numb during those penalties. And also we had Debbie saying, that was hard to listen to. Thank goodness I didn't go to my local. I would have been barred by the end of it. Good to have you with us. And do keep those messages coming. Richard, for you, in terms of those moments of going up to take penalties, it is a lottery, everyone says it. It's the cliche, but you really don't know what's going to happen. A couple of well-struck penalties were saved tonight, so that's where Kasper Schmeichel becomes the hero.
Of course, yeah, both keepers, pulled off a save or two themselves. James Maddison's first penalty looked a really good penalty, and Pickford's managed to dig that one out. Like we've said, we were all pretty confident with who Leicester had up to take their penalties, the quality they had and the keeper they had trying to keep them out. So, like I say, we were all pretty confident, and thankfully they've managed to go through the tie.
So it's Aston Villa, Manchester City and Manchester United. We're awaiting the draw. I guess there's only one tie you really want, is there?
Yeah, you've got to look at this, and it'd be nice to get Aston Villa, I guess, and obviously your Man U's and your Man Cities are going to be huge games, aren't they? But let's not. Villa have fought their way into it, and they've got a chance. But if you could have that magic.
I only say that on the back of last weekend's game, really, and how dominant Leicester were.
They were, and you've got to want that as a Leicester fan. You'd be thinking that you've got a great opportunity to get to a final. So we'll see in the draw. But the lads have, Vardy. When you look, they've got Bottle. They've got under pressure. I couldn't imagine just stepping up just to take that penalty. And it's just, Casper. He's just. When you just know what's going to happen with him, don't you? He's so good under pressure, and you look at some of the performances tonight. Ndidi, Big Wes coming back in out the cold, and they were just far better in every area and deserved to. Although it went to penalties, it shouldn't have, and it should have been finished. But when you look at that performance, it was back to the Leicester we know. After the dull draw against Norwich, the performance was a lot better. And like I say, just when you need it under pressure, who have you got? Your main man.
Yeah, Joe says hope for a game at home this time. We can beat anyone at home. Agree, Matt?
We can beat anyone away. They've proven that. 4 out of 4 on the road. Okay, 2 penalty shootouts, but in both of those games they were a better team, as they were for the 2 in between. But they're grateful that they haven't had to expend any extra energy for the weekend with the extra time. Should have had the game done and dusted. Yeah, I mean, all Brighton, if that one goes in, it's game over. 3-0, thank you very much. But as Walshy mentions there, went slightly off track at the weekend. Didn't get it together properly, but there was some excellent football out there tonight. And on another night, they go and win that comfortably. And just going through the penalties there as you're looking through. You're always apprehensive. You're always nervous, aren't you? Because you never quite know exactly. Each individual as they step up, but what quality on the penalties? Maddison, one of your main men, he gets saved. You could be forgiven for thinking, oh, do you know what? We're going to cave in here. We're going to let it slip. Schmeichel comes up with the goods, as did the other 4. I tell you, particularly impressive, Damari Gray, because we know his situation within the team and the setup and the squad. Yeah, it's a bit intermittent, isn't it? And but he comes tonight, did a little bit of a job, even though things went downhill when he came on the pitch. Not his fault directly, but to stand up there and tuck that ball away like he did when he's not a fully fledged regular starter, I thought was top class.
Yeah, Dane says Morgan is a walking legend. Yvonne says, well done, boys. Michael says, well played, guys. A lot of pressure with pens, and we came through it. Well done, my boys. Simply the best, says Gloria. Faz says, Everton gave their best in the second half. Credit to them. And Joe says, doesn't matter how we do it. Getting the results is all that matters. It's what champions are made of. Roll on, title race. Let's crush Man City this weekend. I like Joe. Already on to the next thing. Enjoy this for a moment. Kevin says, well done you lot for winning the match. You are great. And Sharon says, well done Leicester City, especially Schmeichel. Richard, with Matt saying there about the game could have been out of reach on another night. It would have been. Why wasn't it, do you think, tonight?
I think certainly first half could have taken it out. Certainly passed them two or three more goals. Second half, it's sort of huffed and puffed in it. We expected Everton to come out and really go all guns blazing, chucked on another striker. I think they ended up with 4 strikers on the pitch at one point, and it just didn't quite materialise for them. They were sloppy, they were scrappy. Tags called it on the comms. There was a lot of individual errors, and in fact, old Brighton could have put it to bed with a third. I think Vardy backheeled it, and he, the one where he hits the bar, and just out of nothing, really, Everton go and score, and then the game completely flips on its head, and it's a little bit backs to the wall for Leicester, and Everton get their goal, they get their equaliser.
But it's that brilliant skill we've seen from Leicester of them grinding out and finding ways to win. This time is through a penalty shootout.
It was, and you've got to say well done to Everton for actually having a go in the second half. We said at half time that they will change the game plan, and they needed to. Like Richard said, they had 4 strikers in the end, but they didn't have that cutting edge that I thought was going to get through. It was just, once a team gets 1 goal, then it just changes the whole complex of the game, and that's what happened. And I still felt confident at 2-1 that we were going to see that through, and then we've just backed off, and then Evans is actually the closest he's gone out and tried to close it down, but it's too late, and you just got that one opportunity, and it could have gone anywhere. It's gone in the top corner, and it's game on. So like I say, although the game should have been over, Everton have made it, an exciting second half in the end, and although it went to penalties, for me, the better team won and deserved to go through.
Yeah, what we need to stop doing in the studio is saying anything, really, isn't it? Because we said, Tom Davis, he's not doing much.
Kept preempting it, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, he didn't. He did nothing first half, did he?
We said Leighton Baines is having a shocker, and he's really struggling today, and they're the two that have pulled them out of a hole with 2.
I was glad Baines missed that penalty anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, obviously. It didn't last long for him, but just a couple of moments of real quality, which Everton didn't show. It didn't really match up with their actual performance.
They were good finishes, weren't they? But all round, it's abject, really, wasn't it? It was very basic football, and untidy, scruffy, that's been mentioned, and any quality shown out there was predominantly shown by the team in pink. And, it's just running through my mind, even in the second half, all Brighton side, chance aside, but Pratt had a couple of opportunities where he chose to shoot when the pass was probably the better option. Maddison wriggled through on a couple of occasions. Damari Gray later on as well. There were instances where on any other day Leicester could have finished the game off at any time, but the longer it goes on, you think, something's going to arise for the home team, and it did, and a little bit sloppy from Leicester, switched off, which is going to happen over the course of the game. But to have let it slip, that would have been devastating, really, to have been such a powerful position at one stage.
Yeah, just seeing a note from the Manchester City-Oxford game, which might well give Leicester a bit of confidence ahead of the weekend. Oxford had 18 shots against Man City tonight. And that's something Leicester would think, well, we're quite good at creating chances. I think we're going to have a good day.
Yeah, they're a little bit out of sorts, aren't they, Man City? And fair play to Oxford. They've given it a good go. And but if you could have wrote who was going to be in the next round of the cup, it would have been the teams that have won tonight, obviously. So we're grateful we're in there, and we've got another opportunity and a chance to relive some memories, Matt. Really, when you look at this, it has been good to us, this cup. So who knows now what could happen? And
you never know. Do you? 2 penalty shootouts as we did in 2000. Villa in the semi-final. Only problem is you've got to face one of the Manchester clubs, whereas we had Tranmere.
Yeah, that's right.
If it does work out, yeah.
Well, it has worked, obviously, very similar to your route, obviously, with the penalty shootout tonight as well. Can you recall feelings from that night and how the Leicester players would have been feeling?
I remember
today?
looking round, trying to find tags at the end of extra time with a penalty shootout. Hands up, who wants them? Jerry, where are you? You've gone missing. But no, I remember. Well, I ended up taking the penalty that night on both occasions when we played Leeds and Fulham. Because Walshy, you'd had a bit of stinker early in the game against Fulham, hadn't you? He made a bit of a ricket, but then between him and Marshy, you made up for it between you, didn't you? Got us back on level terms. Walshy was a relieved man that night, but it was of your own doing, in fairness.
Yeah,
very much so. Getting us back in the game.
Yeah.
And I remember taking the penalty. I went for the Mason Holgate tactic.
Hit it.
Yeah, that's right. I
remember
remember
it
it now.
to dive,
I
mate.
can remember that now.
Get out of the way. But that's funny. I remember Robbie Savage, giving Jeff Horsfield a bit of jip throughout the game, asking him, because he's an ex-builder, Jeff, wouldn't he? He'd come from non-league and stuff, and Sav was asking him how much he's on, and come and do a patio in the back garden for me, please, in the summer, mate, when you're out of a job, when you're out of contract. And then as Horsfield went up, he happened to miss one of the penalties as well, didn't he? So Sav wasn't slow in reminding him of that, and Horsfield was chasing Sav around the pitch. Sav was looking for protection, which he weren't going to get from us, because we didn't like him either.
Hey, let's not get carried away, though. One game at a time, as we're in the semi-finals. But no, it's great to be there, to have an opportunity again. And the fans will, they'll be loving this, and that belief, that kind of, confidence again going into the next game against Man City is great. When you're positive like this, it's just.
The thing is as well, isn't it? In this competition, I think, don't get me wrong, that there was a feel about tonight's game and an importance attached to it. But now it's a semi-final that they're going into 2 legs. The profile's there, the atmosphere's there, the cameras will be there. It's going to be a proper occasion on both encounters.
Well, we're just waiting for that semi-final draw, of course, to come out. But before we do, just how impressed were you with James Maddison in the first half, Richard?
Yeah, very much so. I'm very impressed every time I get to watch him play or play against him, as we have done this year. Everything seems to go through him. He's the heartbeat of the team, whether he's scoring goals, assisting goals, or just generally creating play. He's a fantastic talent, and one of which that Leicester can hold on to for a long time.
Yeah, he just seemed to have the way of controlling the game. I think much of that control in the first half came through him. I think it's fair to say.
He was excellent for me tonight. Just his link-up play and his clever brain that he sometimes seems to be on a different level than other players, and but now Vardy's starting to understand his cleverness, and his runs are better. Jamie Vardy has been, for me, playing. He plays off. They play so well together.
We just heard Steve. Sorry, just hold up. Leicester City will face Aston Villa.
Oh, beautiful!
That'll
do.
There we go.
Great draw.
Very much echoes of your year, Matthew.
Well, you don't want to be blasé, overconfident, do you? But of course, of the 3, that's the one you choose, isn't it?
That's fantastic.
So they will play at King Power Stadium in the first leg, and then Villa Park in the second. That's the best Leicester could hope for, isn't it, Rich?
That's what we hope for. Yeah, it's the one we wanted, and as fans, that's probably the one they and us wanted as well. It's dare I say, the easier tie maybe, but it's one that obviously echoes past gone by, and one we're looking forward to.
So there you go. It will be Leicester City against Aston Villa in the semi-final, and it will be Manchester United against Manchester City for a place in the League Cup final. There we go. So that is the waiting over on that bit, and lots of looking forward to do for Leicester City. But as you were mentioning, Steve, you just said now it's at a point where you're going to go, it's a semi-final. It's a very winnable semi-final.
It's turned into a great night tonight. It really has, and you've got to fancy us now. We'll probably be favourites. Of course, we will be to get through to the final now. So yeah, is there any more history going to happen this year? We don't know, but there's an opportunity now and a window open that we can certainly make the final, and we're good enough on our day to beat anybody. We've proved it, and I've got that real firm belief at the moment that I really have.
When is it?
It is the week commencing the 6th of January will be the first leg, and the second leg will be the week commencing the 27th of January.
Excellent.
Is that all right?
That fits into my calendar perfectly.
No holidays, no?
In between.
There we go.
Hong Kong, remember this?
Oh yeah, he's going. Yeah, of course he is. Wonderful timing for that. So there will be obviously more details about those games coming out in the coming days. So keep up to date with everything on Leicester City social media feeds, and of course the Leicester City website as well. Huge emphasis now. I'm sure we'll probably hear from Brendan Rodgers before the end of the game, but everyone's going to be saying, "What's the priority, Brendan?" Now, aren't they?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for him to answer, isn't it? But Brendan will be pleased, not just obviously because they've gone through the tie, but his strong team selection has been justified. It would have been, he'd been devastated if they'd played his full hit almost and they'd gone out tonight and then out of the tie and roll into the weekend a little bit fatigued maybe and on a downer from going out. But now he's played a full hit almost and they've gone through the tie and now they're buoyant going into the weekend. They'll be very pleased in there, and Brendan especially.
Absolutely. From a Leicester point of view, 3 changes tonight, Matt. How did the people who came in do it for you? What were you impressed with?
So what we're saying, Albrighton.
Morgan. Perez came back in as well.
Perez, if we're looking at that in terms of changes, yeah. Morgan was outstanding, I thought. Didn't put a foot wrong. Powerhouse performance, wasn't it? The sort of opponent he'd probably relish more than other types of opponents, but Calvert-Lewin in particular, it was a bit of a battle up there, but Leicester were dominant, weren't they? And he got a nice feel on the ball, didn't he, early on, and played himself into it. A couple of nice little manoeuvres there at the back as well. Supreme confidence, and you expect nothing else from Wes really. The way it's gone for him this season, he's been used intermittently, but he came in, great job. Perez, same old story, really. Nice touches, good movement, lots of potential. End product, not quite there at the moment. It sort of filtered out of the game, didn't he? And, it was sort of, pretty straightforward that he was going to come off at some stage, increase a bit of added energy. But Albrighton, I thought he was very good first half and did a job second, didn't he? Could have been the hero or one of the heroes and finished it off a little bit earlier. Probably be ruining that miss, wouldn't he? But generally, did more than okay.
Yeah, we'll talk more about tonight's game with the 3 gents very soon. But right now we can go back to catch up with Brendan Rodgers, who's talking to Dan Bates.
Brendan, congratulations. Through to the semi-finals of the League Cup.
Yeah, it would have been a crime if we didn't get through because I felt much the better team. First half with good control in the game, scored 2 very good goals, had other opportunities, looked a threat. And defensively, apart from a header right at the very beginning, we were comfortable in the game. Second half, like I said, we weren't really in any danger, but I felt we waited on the game a little bit. At 2-0, we're thinking that we can see it through, and we stopped getting on the ball and stopped making passes. But still, we weren't giving away too much. And then out of nowhere, they get the goal, which obviously galvanises the team and gives the crowd a little bit of momentum. But still, we're reasonably comfortable in the game. And then obviously Leighton scores an absolute wonder strike at the end. So from being comfortable and nearly going 3 up when Mark hits the bar, we're down to 2 each. And then you're looking at the focus of your players. So they kept great composure, great focus, and then eventually got over the line.
Obviously you weren't here, but you'll know that the last 2 seasons it was this stage, quarter-final, penalty heartache twice for Leicester. So how good does it feel to get through, particularly in that manner there?
Yeah, no, it feels good because, like I said, it's something that is important for us. We want to go as deep as we can in as many of the competitions as we can. We need to learn from the second half period where we just stopped controlling the game and stopped moving for the ball. However, to get through, we're doing it the hard way. We've been away in all our games. You know, away at Newcastle, away at Everton, and away at Burton. So they've been tough games for us. But the players have got great resilience and a great mentality, and now we'll look forward to whoever we play over the 2 legs to look to get through.
A word on Kasper Schmeichel. He saved a couple at Newcastle. Another 2 tonight. Really was the hero, wasn't he? There.
Yeah. He didn't have so much to do in the actual game, but you know when he comes to that moment, he's ready to make the saves, and he was absolutely fantastic, and likewise the guys, you know, obviously James missed his. It was a good save by Jordan Pickford, but the other 4 penalties were fantastic.
Just finally, a word that it was such a late equaliser, so for the players to then get the mindset ready for that penalty shootout shows the strength of character in this squad. Yeah, but we said just on the pitch after the game, we should be through, but we're not. So we need to just ensure that we now finish the job, and like I said, the players refocused, regrouped, and got the job done. I've just been shown that it's Aston Villa in the semi-finals of the competition. A word on that? Yeah, well, like I say, it'll be a tough game over the 2 legs, but yeah, once that comes in January, we'll look forward to that.
Secretly, he would have been happy with what Dan's just told him, surely.
Do you think he's ever happy with anything Dan tells him? Hey? But yeah, no, he would have, wouldn't he? But you know, quite rightfully respectful to whoever Leicester's opponents are in the semi-final, rightly so. But inwardly, yeah, there'd be a little smile saying, like Walshy said, this ended up what was threatened to be a really good night, and threatened to be a little bit of a mini disaster, has ended up a wonderful night, isn't it? And you got to look at Brendan since he's arrived. I've not seen him make a mistake tactically. I think he's been absolutely, you know, brilliant in the way he's changed the team. You know, shapes and formations. Although, you know, the team is predominantly, we know what his best team is now. Like I say, this was a test. You know, Puel would have got this wrong last year without a doubt, and he did. And ultimately, what he's looked at Everton, looked at the strengths and weaknesses, and played the team that he knew could win tonight. And even though he made them changes in the second half, that tactically was the right thing to do, I think. And it was like he said, they just seemed to stand off and just switch off for in that second half, which could have cost them in the end, but I think, you know, like he said, it should have been over the game. But tactically, he's been a genius for me.
Yeah, Fee says, Aston Villa, great news at home for the first game. Kate says, bring on the Villa lads, you can do it. Mighty Foxes. And Joe says, very promising. I can feel a final coming on. Well, it's been quite the night tonight at Goodison Park. If you missed any of it, here's what happened.
Quarter-final time once again for Leicester City. Welcome to a packed-out Goodison Park for the last 8 of the League Cup. Everton are a bit lackadaisical, and listen to that from the home support. It's Chilwell and Ricardo who recycled the ball, and Ricardo now bounces off Iwobi's challenge, gets beyond Coleman, crosses it in beautifully, Vardy leaves it, and Perez sweeps it over the crossbar. Best moment from Leicester so far, as Ricardo has it in the right wing position now. And he fires it into James Maddison outside of the right boot. Majestic! James Maddison with another very, very special strike in Leicester City colours. And the Foxes strike first in this League Cup quarter-final. 1-0. Corner kick, having just scored the opener. Here is Maddison looking to turn provider. It's flicked on and in! It's Johnny Evans! Leicester City have 2 in double quick time. And as things stand, they're heading into the semi-final of a major cup competition for the first time in 20 years. 2-0. Bernardi was over it as well, but Baines will be the left-footed option. It is Bernardi, clips it in dangerously. Free header, great save by Kasper Schmeichel. Big chance for Yerry Mina to get Everton back into this quarter-final. He didn't take it, still 2-0. It's James Maddison who sweeps it away. Up towards Jamie Vardy. Vardy doesn't get there, but Michael Brighton might. And now Vardy can run at Michael Keane again. Michael Keane loses the ball to Vardy, who backheels it brilliantly to Michael Brighton, who sweeps goalwards and hits the crossbar. Oh, that would have been glorious. And it would have been 3-0. There's Seamus Coleman rampages forward. It's a very good run. The cross in towards Tom Davis. He and Moise Kean were right next to each other. The ball drops to Coleman's feet. Back to Richarlison, who crosses into Tom Davies, who scores with a volley from the penalty spot. And Everton do have one back. And this League Cup quarter-final has taken a turn here. 4 added minutes. Leicester are 4 minutes away from the semi-finals of the League Cup. It's helped out from Cenk Tosun to Leighton Baines on his left foot, 25 yards out! Oh, he's hit it into the top corner! Would you believe it? Leighton Baines with an absolute cracker, and it's 2-2, and Leicester might just be heading to penalties again. Leicester City's League Cup campaign this season started with a penalty shootout win away at Newcastle United. Can they now book their place in the semi-finals from the spot? Maddison with the first of the penalty kicks. Here he comes, short stutter, saved by Pickford. Oh, brilliant save to his right-hand side from Pickford. Early advantage for Everton in the shootout. And 0-0 in the shootout. Kasper Schmeichel makes himself big. Tosun misses, went the same way. Schmeichel saves. 0-0 after 2. Chilwell is ready. Here he comes, left-footed, scores. Sends Pickford the wrong way. And Leicester are the first team to score in this shootout. Schmeichel tries to put off Baines. Here it comes from Leighton Baines. Saved by Kasper Schmeichel. Again he gets the right way. Kasper Schmeichel. He's becoming Leicester's hero. Leicester's right back, and he scores. Sends Pickford the wrong way. Holgate steps up and blasts it down the middle. Big penalty. 2-1. Here goes Gray. Right-footed, scores. Very good penalty, because Pickford went left. Very short run-up from Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and he scores. Just about. Jamie Vardy. Here he comes. Right-footed, scores. And Leicester City march on in the League Cup and into the semi-finals.
Your place for all the big moments. You're listening to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio.
Yes, Leicester City are into the semi-finals of the League Cup, where they will face Aston Villa in that next round. We'll hear from Ricardo very shortly, just a few details about that next round. So at the moment, week commencing the 6th of January will be the first leg of that League Cup semi. The second leg currently 27th of January, that week commencing then. So lots of people getting in touch asking about fixture details, etc. All the details will be revealed in the coming days and weeks. Currently, obviously, Leicester's fixture schedule at the start of January has got the FA Cup game against Wigan on the Saturday, and then it will be after that and before the Southampton game that we expect the first leg of that semi-final against Aston Villa. Right, shall we hear from Ricardo? Obviously, Jerry Taggart's man of the match once more.
Ricardo, how good does that feel?
It feels good after a good first half for us. We didn't manage the game well in the second half, and taking a goal so late, it was tough, but we still have something to say in the game, and fortunately we won.
What was the mindset like when the equaliser went in, to then know you had to step up for a penalty shootout? That must have been quite difficult.
Yeah, it was tough, but then we knew in the game we were the better team, so if we keep going and believing in ourselves, we could win. And with Kasper in the goal, it's easier.
Yeah, he was very much the hero, wasn't he? 2 fantastic saves.
Yeah, it's very good defending penalties, and fortunately it's ease on our side.
Talk us through your penalty.
Sorry?
Your penalty.
It was good. I scored, so I'm happy for that.
Were you confident when you were making that walk up? It must be a very nervy walk up to the ball.
You have to focus on you and forget the environment. So it's what I did, and I scored. It's good.
Obviously, there was such disappointment last season for you at this stage in the competition, and for Leicester the season before as well. So to go through in this manner, the dressing room must be a very, very happy place right now.
Yeah, so much time that Leicester didn't went to semi-finals. It's good to go to have a word to say in this competition, and now we will focus on the Premier League, and then we have time to think in.
And to be able to go and celebrate with the away fans at the end there, that was a great moment.
Yeah, we want to thank them for the support. They were important, and thank you for that.
2 games away from Wembley as well.
Sorry?
2 games away from Wembley.
Yeah, we are close, but we have to keep going like this.
Steve, wasn't it? You can mention Wembley, but you just really, I know it sounds boring, but you've got to focus on that next game, and it's two big games.
There's a real great sense of belief in the squad. You can see it. You just feel it, don't you? And a manager's got a cool head, and he'll keep the feet firmly on the ground. That's one thing that he has done, and he doesn't get carried away with anything. He doesn't, look ahead. It's always that next game and that next challenge, which is, as a footballer, should work and operate and think. Yeah, because you start looking ahead, you things go wrong. It's the next game now, the next challenge, which is Man City. So get this out of the system, and as a professional footballer now, that's what you need to do. And but I really do feel that belief and that positive vibe around the club. It's such a great thing to have in a dressing room, and Brendan's certainly got them lads that team spirit together.
Yeah, we watch Ricardo play every week. Richard, you probably haven't seen as much of him, but Jerry Taggart's known for giving him man of the match on most occasions. It's that or Johnny Evans. But in terms of your first kind of thoughts on him, what have you seen?
Well, first half especially, I thought he was the standout by a country mile. He set the tempo in terms of his attacking play for a defender is quite impressive, and I think he was the creator of the most attacking threat that Leicester posed, certainly in that first half, and he's someone I've certainly been impressed with tonight, and hopefully he can continue that now throughout the season, or he might be doing that without not get to watch too much, but hopefully you can continue that through the season, and what is an important period for Leicester right now. What
does that give you when you do have that extra attacking threat from someone like Ricardo?
Well, it obviously created opportunities for Jamie Vardy and Perez at the time, I think it was, and to have such attacking threat, I think Chilwell on the other side as well poses a great threat, and you've got wide forwards. It's coming from all angles. It's hard for an opposition to set up to combat that when you've got such threat coming from full-back areas.
Yeah, that's what you see with Ricardo that Richard just mentioned there. Perez, he's not an out-and-out wide man. He's not really going to go up against the full-back and outstrip them or outmanoeuvre them even. He has to rely on drifting into areas. But then Leicester have all of a sudden got two options. You see Dennis Pratt or even Wes Morgan playing balls into Perez or Ricardo. And the left back's like, well, I didn't know whether to stick or twist, where to go. And one or the other is on if the pass is precise enough. And midfielders have to cover. So then you'll see, in this instance tonight, Tom Davies shuffling over left-hand side, which leaves a space in the middle of the park, or a ball into Vardy. They can't cover all angles at the same time. There's always at least one, more often not two, options for a Leicester player to be found. And when you've got those flying fullbacks, as Chilwell less so tonight, Ricardo in particular, and as Rich says, those wide players, Albrighton could sort of link up with Chilwell. Perez plays a separate role, but his movement inside creates space, and vice versa. Ricardo creates space for Perez. Then he's allowed to drift in the box. It's all reacting off each other, and it's a structure that's put in place, but they work it so well.
Yeah, Ricardo, he's got so much trickery as well with him. He's got great manoeuvrability. His touch. Creating them overloads in that area for a fullback, it's a nightmare. And because he can finish as well, that's people are saying, they don't
Picks
want
people
him
out as well, doesn't
he? Does. Yeah. He's just been magnificent since he's arrived. He's been the one key player, and that's why he won. Did he get Player of the Year and everything? He won everything, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was, and the fans, you just, you know what you get with him every week. His consistency levels are huge. So he's a real future player, but don't take away from the Maddison performance, the Ndidi. There was so many good performances out the team tonight. Big Wes just strolled it, and he did what he had to do, and so it's an exciting team as well. When we counter with numbers. You watch how many players get into the box. It's hard to deal with as a defender.
And when you're watching, obviously tonight we've watched on the screen, for instance. But whenever one of those pullbacks comes, you think there will be a Leicester City player there, because they do get forward in great numbers.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, we highlighted it at half time, but Ricardo in particular, excuse me, he's got that capability to pick out what is the right option. He doesn't just pull it back blind. You know, he can whip it in the danger zone. He can dink it far post. What are you smiling at? My mishap there. But, you know, he gets his head up and assesses the options, doesn't he? And 9 times out of 10, he picks the right one.
And the one Perez missed that, blazed that one over the bar. I think Vardy stepped over it, didn't he? And it was just such a great move and a pull back. And like I said, we should have hit the target, and that was a chance. We've hit the bar twice, I think. You know, you look over that game, and we had the better chances. The more we looked, the more cutting edge to counter. And
that's one area where I think Chilwell could learn from Ricardo, add that to his game more.
Getting forward.
That variety, not getting forward.
He gets
when
forward,
you get there. I mean, not that Chilwell's got that much to learn. He's England regular, right? But I'm just saying, if you're looking for any sort of, always looking to progress and improve, aren't you? And at the moment, I say Ricardo's not got the upper hand. They're not competing with each other. He's got more dimensions in those attacking situations, isn't he? Chilwell can add that to his game.
You forget they're only young lads, these as well, aren't they? Look how young they are. That team is. It's brilliant. Right, yeah. Look for the future of this club. You look at it and the structure, and Chilwell. These players will get better. They get more experience. And you remember when we played, when you were a youngster, it was hard to develop. And really, 26, 27 was your kind of when you started to have that knowledge and know-how and that development really changes.
I was saying to Rich before the game, I think that's where young players these days have the advantage on us, as well as the other, the training methods and the physical aspect of it. But players get coached properly from a young age these days, from the academies, and they're not just told, they're asked, do they understand it? What happens in this situation? They're left their own devices. They've got to respond and give an answer and enact it. Whereas I wasn't coached till I was about 24, 25 in actually how to play the centre-half position. It was generally, we squeeze up together and we shift across, etc., but not individually on that role. Understanding of other players' roles within the game. They go through all that in the academy, don't they? Which should be doing coaching badges now.
They did kind of when I was there as well, but
maybe started at your
it's
area.
Probably progressed quite a lot on since certainly when when I was in the academy, but even the coaching back then was still pretty good. But doing my badges now, I think that the detail that you have to go into, certainly with the young players, it's progressed. Quite a long way past. Even when I was.
That's why the top young players, develop even quick. I used to get them back in our day. Occasionally the Rooneys and people like that. But I think generally their education is much better from a young age.
Everything in football has changed now. Everything. You can't look at anything that's not changed and gone on to a different level. What these lads eat, how they train, how they live, and the footballs, your football boots, everything.
Even their
the pace of the pitches, the pitches. They used that Filbert Street. It used to sink about a foot deep in that goal area. When you're trying to jump for a header, and everything's changed. Everything has.
But the great thing for Leicester City as well is they have these youngsters coming through, but those mature heads who are probably passing the advice on and helping those as well.
Yeah, of course, that's vital within any dressing room. You've got these great young players, but they need to be guided by senior pros. Every dressing room needs good senior pros. I was lucky enough to have people like Matt when I was coming through, and you just learn how to be a footballer.
You also learn what not to do.
Yeah, and like I say, every dressing room needs that. Every young player needs guidance. You could have all the talent in the world and the facilities, but until you're in a first team environment in front of 30, 40, 50,000 and coming into training every day, you need to see what it is like to be a good professional.
One of those senior pros in the Leicester City ranks is, of course, Mark Albrighton, and he's been talking to Dan Bates.
Mark, how do you sum that up?
Yeah, we made hard work of it, but I think first half we did a real professional job. We silenced the crowd in the first sort of 10-15 minutes. We knew we'd have to weather a bit of a storm. We knew it was going to be good atmosphere here and to get behind the players and the team. So we did that well. Then we nicked the two goals. But then second half, obviously, we let that go and we sort of sat off them a little bit. We didn't really take the game to them like we did in the end of the first half. So it was always going to be difficult when you sit off. And then obviously Leighton Baines has scored a great goal to level it up. But the character that we've shown to get that late equaliser out our heads and the lads putting the penalties away, it's different class.
You talked about that Leighton Baines great goal. You almost had a great goal for yourself as well.
Yeah, obviously it's. I just want them ones to drop in at the minute, but it was one where I think we was under the cosh a little bit, and we had a chance to press them high up. Nodded it out to Vards, and I think he's done the lad for pace and put it in my path. And yeah, I was just waiting for it to drop down, but it never did. And I think that would have made it 3-0 and probably a different game then, but it weren't to be.
You talked about the first half performance. How pleased were you as a group with that first half?
Yeah, like I said earlier, it was such a professional job that it's exactly what we had spoke about beforehand. Like I said, we knew it was going to be bit of a good atmosphere. But we had to put that out our minds and, like I say, see out the first 10-15 minutes and go that. But we always make hard work of it, don't we? But it's just a nice feeling to be on the right end of a penalty shootout. What were your emotions like throughout that penalty shootout? Yeah, it's obviously up and down. Penalty shootouts are hard to sum up, but 1 minute you're ecstatic and the next minute you're low. So I think we was getting things thrown at us from behind for not sitting down. So I was more concentrated on that. It took my mind off it a little bit. You were probably thinking the same as the fans though watching on. Yeah, definitely. It was. You've always got faith in your teammates to step up. We do practice them, but ultimately in this situation and this atmosphere, it's a different scenario.
Mark Albrighton talking to Dan Bates from LCFC Radio. And Mark just says there about we always make it hard for ourselves, but the thing with this Leicester City side is you always have that little bit of confidence that even if they make it hard for themselves, they will come through.
Listen, they showed a lot of character tonight. Like I say, when you get in a position like that, and they almost gave Everton the upper hand in the end, and going into that penalties, it's difficult when you've just conceded 2 goals in that second half. So the characters came through, and that's what's in that dressing room. It really is. Like I say, Brendan's game plan was good. It worked. Well, like we say, the game should have been over. Like Mark Albrighton saying as well, that third one just didn't come, and one chance in the back in the game. But character is in that dressing room. There's several lads, and that right balance they've got with younger lads, and the experience is perfect match.
Yeah, being able to create opportunities in different ways is such a great skill to have, and the way that Mark Albrighton chance came around just showed actually off the cuff. This isn't something that we've spent ages building. It was a quick break and very creative thinking from Vardy and Albrighton. Yeah,
and Leicester's blessed with players that have that sort of creativity. I mean, Mark Albrighton must be a manager's dream. You know what you're going to get from him from a trust perspective. He works his socks off. He's got good delivery, and he's almost come up with a spectacular goal from himself, hit the bar, and great work from Vardy as well. So a good all-round performance. And you were talking earlier about how this season for you has been difficult at times, being more of a squad player, and Mark Albrighton's found himself doing that as well. So how difficult is it to come in and just be making sure mentally you're on it? Yeah, you've got to be ready. You never know what might happen in terms of from a game-to-game basis. Players getting injured, suspended, lack of form. The manager just throwing you in, and that's why I say about Mark being a manager's dream, because I'm sure he's very professional. You can tell in the way he plays and conducts himself that if I were to chuck him in, I know he'd be ready. I know he'd know his jobs and that he'd be able to perform on the day. So, of course, it was Leicester beating Everton tonight. Let's hear from their manager, Duncan Ferguson.
Yeah, I thought the second half, particularly, I thought the first half were too passive. We sat back in the shape too much. never managed to press them enough. Of course, they had an extra man in midfield, which made it difficult for our two midfield players to get up in the press. But overall, I thought we were not aggressive enough in the first half. Never had enough hits, never enough tackles. But had one or two wee chances. I think Jerry had a header. They never had many chances, but of course they scored their goal. They got another one for a set play, which was never pleasing. But I thought second half we come out and really had a go at them. Put a lot of strikers on the pitch and had a right good go.
What did you say at half time?
A bit more belief, really, you know what I mean? We changed the shape a bit. Went to the 3-man midfield. Narrowed in my strikers. So, and stopped them from really getting more possession. We got a bit more pressure on the ball. And then, a bit more belief in getting the ball a bit more. I think the first half it was we were a bit too nervous on the ball. We never quite got our passes in. And then, a bit more belief, really.
Two fabulous goals. I mean, Tom Davis was a special strike, and then Leighton Baines goes and eclipses it with an absolute stunner, wasn't it?
Fantastic for Leighton. What a great finish it was, wasn't it? And of course, Tom getting him in the box and a lovely finish as well. So yeah, it was. I thought the first half was obviously Leicester's, second half was ours, and they were just going to get over the line.
And the penalties, it's anybody's game then, isn't it? It's a toss of a coin almost.
Absolutely, and it's just the way it goes. Unfortunately, somebody's got to lose.
Atmosphere was something else. You asked for a bear pit, you got it, didn't you?
It's particularly second half, I think.
Yeah.
I think the first half, I think I think we just sat back too much, to be honest. We never quite got up the pitch enough. We never made enough hits. But I thought the second half the fans got more into it, we got more into it, and of course, we've just got come up short, unfortunately.
Duncan Ferguson, the Everton manager there, speaking for about a minute and a half, and Matt, you must have disagreed with him about 18 times during that time.
18, well, that was the advent calendar theme. So, but no, I just think, I suppose understandably so, he's been a little bit one-eyed on it on a few occasions there. I think there was certainly it's too easy to simplify it and say it was Leicester's first half, Everton's second. The general run of play was Leicester's. The phrase that Brendan Rodgers used is we waited on the game a bit too much. I agree with that. Rather than carrying on controlling the game and forcing the issue, longer the game went on, it's natural. It's something that many teams are guilty of. And you wonder why, don't you? Because you say that, well, they're in command. Why don't you just carry on as you are? But it's easier said than done. A natural instinct is to drop off and protect what you got, and then things happen. But Everton had a go. He did change the shape and stuff, but he was saying about being too passive. Surely he must have instructed them to play that way. You're not telling me that he asked for a bear pit, in inverted brackets, atmosphere, and got that tepid performance in the first half. He must have said, let them have it there, and we'll try and pinch it. And I think fair play to him. He's changed it, but I don't think it was necessarily the players' fault. They must have been instructed to play a certain way. Perhaps they overcooked it, don't get me wrong, changed it, but again, huffing and puffing, they didn't do a lot second half, really. Leicester should have finished the game. All Brighton chance we've spoken about, numerous other situations. Dennis Pratt, Damari Gray, James Maddison, one or two others.
The way they set up...
9 times out of 10, Leicester win that comfortably.
Yeah, the way they set up, it was there was a fear factor in that team. You could see they'd worked on the shape, and they'd sat back in 2 banks of 4 and a 2, and Leicester in their own half, let them have it, let them play. But
if he wasn't happy, he'd have changed it after 20 minutes and gone, go on, bang, let's do something.
What Leicester are good at doing now is working out a way to break teams down, and you can a couple of years ago, if teams parked the bus or they sat back, we struggled, but now we work it out. We work it out, whether it's a late goal or whatever. But we work the plan out. And that's a great thing to have in your team. You look at the team; we've got 5 players who all could be goal scorers now as well. Your Tielemans, you've Barnes and Perez, Vardy, Maddison. So there's goals, potentially from all over. So the teams like Everton needed to probably think, hang on, let's just try and be careful. We don't want to come out straight away and have a go at you and get caught out. That's
a compliment, isn't it?
They had a fear factor, and there's no doubt that he had to change it the second half. We said it at half time, he's going to come out and change it. They're going to have to press us higher and give it a go, and they did. But it still should have been game, set and matched long before that. But in the end, we're drawn into penalties, and it shouldn't have got that far.
Well, let's take a look ahead to the weekend. Of course, Man City for Leicester, but a quick word, Richard, on Sheffield United heading to Brighton this weekend. Brighton, tricky opposition.
Yeah, it'll be a tough tough fixture for us, won't it? We've come off the back of two good performances, 2 good wins. So hopefully try and make it third. It's like I said, it's going to be a tough place to go, but hopefully we can pick up the 3 points.
Yeah, defensively, Neil Maupay's started to really turn it on for Brighton. Yeah,
someone that I think we were probably interested in as well over the summer. He lit up the Championship last year and he's hit the ground running in the Premier League. So certainly one we're going to have to keep an eye on and hopefully we can do that.
Well, best of luck with that. For Leicester, of course, a trip to the Etihad to Manchester City. What are you thinking of this one, Matt?
There's been a lot of excitement, isn't there, and anticipation for the game. Again, Leicester got focus on that game in isolation, not start thinking about Boxing Day. If we get a result against Man City, what was going to set that up against Boxing Day? Don't disregard Manchester City these days because they've had a little dip. They're still one of the best teams in Europe. You need to be mindful of that. You need to be right on your game. Tonight will help. They'll be flying. They'll be buoyant, won't they? Leicester City into a semi-final, having failed for the last 2 years. It's all to play for, isn't it? What exciting times for the players, fans, us, everyone connected with Leicester City.
And they'll go there with no fear, won't they?
Yeah, you sense it's good timing. They will go with no fear and they'll go with a lot of confidence. But like you say, you've got to be very cautious of a Man City team any time you play them. So it's going to be it's a huge game. But I think the timing's quite right for us. I think Man City you can see clearly they miss the Laporte company, that presence, and the Arteta, what's going on. So there's but let's be mindful that they can sting you when you.
There's no reason why Leicester can't go there and play similarly to they did back in the last season when Company got his goal, but with a more sort of cohesive attacking department to their play. They've developed that side of their play because they were all right until the final third, weren't they? Made a real fist of it. They can go and do that and more at the weekend if they approach it correctly.
Yeah, Steve's just mentioned the defensive side of Manchester City, and we've been praising the attacking side of Leicester City, and that's where Leicester are really going to fancy their chances.
I think so. I think that's where the game's going to be won and lost, isn't it? The Manchester City are not quite that defensive force that they once were. Midfielders having to fill in at centre half, etc. And Leicester, they're so exciting going forward and producing those goods that I think that's going to be where the match is going to be won and lost.
Yeah, and obviously Sonchu's had a bit of a rest today, and he might well need it with the attacking force that Man City have.
Yeah, of course. You imagine he's going to be busy. However well Leicester play, they're going to have to defend well first and foremost, aren't they? But again, I'm not saying they're the finished article by any stretch, but they've got a complete game to them. They've got both sides. They've got all facets covered, really. They defend well collectively. They attack well. They can dig in. They can create. They can play on the counter. They can control games. I'm not saying they're going to do all those against Man City, but when it does go slightly wrong, they've got a half-decent keeper as well.
Well, that is Saturday, and of course we will be with you with it all on LCFC Radio. Of course, you can join us for the pre-match pint, and I think you're back with Match Day -2 tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Well, thanks to Richard Stearman, thanks to Matt Elliott, thank you to Steve Walsh, Jerry Taggart, of course, in Everton as well in Liverpool. From us, we will see you for that game against Manchester City on Saturday. But for now, Leicester City have booked their spot in the semi-final from the spot. Good night.
Jamie Vardy, here he comes, right-footed, scores! And Leicester City march on in the League Cup and into the semi-finals. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. Beaten twice on penalties in the last 2 years, but from the spot in the quarter-finals, Leicester City are finally victorious.
For more in-depth analysis, reaction and extended highlights, head to lcfc.com.